So the other day I was thinking about witches, as one does, and I realized that there's something about 90s witches that keeps studios sequeling. First, it was The Craft, the 1996 sleeper hit for the not like other girls. When in 2020, they made that Craft Legacy sequel. Don't piss me off. Then they made Hocus Pocus 2 nearly 20 years after the original bombed at the box office. And now it's Practical Magic, the movie trashed upon its release by critics, that has been confirmed to get a sequel next year. People just weren't ready to recognize real. Also, if we're being real, I just had an edible. I'm gonna try and get through this before it hits me, but if it does hit me before the end of the video, now you know. Welcome to the inner circle of close friends. What can I say except that there's something about 90s witches that keeps studios sequeling? Why are witches bad when they come out, but then 20 years later, there's something about them that we just can't seem to let go? Good from afar, but far from good. The more you look into it, the worse it gets in a good way. But first, subscribe down below. Please. 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 First up, Hocus Pocus. What a classic, ladies and gays. The year was 1993. Kenny Ortega, known Hollywood choreographer of Xanadu fame, open your eyes and see, followed his Newsies directorial debut with Hocus Pocus, preceding the hit High School Musical by 13 years. Kenny had something to prove. And something to prove he did. Bette Midler in one of the most easily recognizable witch looks we've ever seen, Sarah Jessica Parker, pre-Sex and the City fame, and the most famous crooked mouth since Drew Barrymore. People tend to not talk about this phenomenon enough, but Hocus Pocus is a menace. It's a menacing movie. It has the Disney gays on fucking lockdown every Halloween. Halloween comes, everyone's in their Sanderson drag outfits. The Disney gays going to bars on Halloween and seeing a Hocus Pocus number, they go feral. It gets crazy. In fact, the Earth's magnetic fields shift a little that night, which is where the phenomena of a Halloween party feeling like it lasts longer comes from. The collective power of the gays as they turn into F***atron. It changes lives. So Hocus Pocus, right? Halloween staple, and for good reason. The movie has it all. 3 quirky witches, it's camp, it's got Sarah Jessica Parker topping the charts in something that doesn't involve a toxic relationship with some guy, Bette Midler putting a spell on us. What more could we want? Now, before Glee's Let's Have a Kiki, Sarah Jessica Parker was actually a best-selling recording artist for the Sanderson sisters' first act, We Want Kids. And the movie opens in the 1600s in Salem with Sarah Jessica Parker singing, "Come little children, I'll take thee away," as a boy named Thackeray Binks wakes up to find his sister Emily missing. The story, as I said, follows 3 witches, the Sanderson sisters, who want eternal life, immortality, forever young, forever beautiful, and to do that, they need kids. And Hocus Pocus was a brave film too, because not even 10 minutes in and they fully kill Emily to wipe away all of these prosthetics, but they also turn Thackeray Binks into a black immortal talking cat. He's played by an American actor as a human and then a different American actor to voice his cat form. And they both do the most diabolical British accent.
There are not enough children in the world to make thee young and beautiful. For years I waited for my life to end, so I could be reunited with my family.
To set up the rest of the movie, the town catches the sisters and hangs them for their crimes without due process, very much like what the US is doing right now to immigrants. But before they do, the sisters cast a curse on the town, stating that one day a virgin will summon them from the ground after lighting a black candle on All Hallows Eve night, something fun like that. And I will say, the Disney Channel doing the virgin thing, so ahead of their times. Cut to 300 years later, and we're finally at our main story. It's 1993, and our protagonist is Max Dennison, who just moved to Salem from LA. Max is a cynic. Imagine a blue-haired radical leftist who says Halloween was invented by candy companies. And I, for one, think he should be deported. He strikes up a friendship with Allison after she lectures him and us on the true origin story of Halloween night. And that face card, lethal. And through a lot of mental gymnastics, Max and Allison, along with Max's younger sister Danny, played by the great Thora Birch, somehow end up visiting the Sandersons' old house, now turned into a museum, on Halloween night, all because Max is a cynic.
Oh, come on, make a believer out of me.
And what do you know? To advance the plot even further, not only do we find out that Max is a virgin, but he lights the black candle on that night in their house, completing the prophecy and bringing about the curse. The Sanderson sisters emerge from the ground. And now they have until the end of this day to perform a ritual and suck the life force of at least one child. Otherwise, come dawn and they turn to dust. And straight away, they brighten up the party. Anywhere these ladies go becomes a riot. They're laughing, they're cracking jokes, they're just happy to be here. Everybody clap. You clapping? And after some fantastic acting and some truly fascinating special effects, Max realizes these witches are from the 1600s. They don't know anything about this world, which will be very important for the plot. With the help of sprinklers and a cat who speaks, the three kids escape the house with Max stealing their dark book of spells, the dark hold in the MCU, if you will. Without it, the witches are completely helpless with performing the ritual they need in order to stay. And the movie is then just a game of cat and mouse. The witches resurrect a zombie called Billy who absolutely hates them but needs the job because good healthcare coverage is hard to find these days. And it's fun, guys. Like, the witches are menacing because they, killed two kids right at the beginning, but also they're like, whatever. Their plan keeps failing, and Sarah always has a smile on her face. The definition of happy to be included. Max's virginity somehow gets brought up again because this was Disney in the 90s. They were very edgy.
Are you a virgin?
Yeah.
Really?
At one point, the witches mistake a man in a devil costume for the real devil, and they start reporting to him, who's just a guy. He's just a Jim with a mortgage. And they all end up at this Halloween party that all of the adults in town are attending. And that leads to a, dare I say, bewitching musical number of I Put a Spell on You.
And now you're mine.
Bewitching, because they're witches putting a spell on you.
I put a spell on you. And now you're gone.
It's a party for everyone, but for the kids, this is a PR crisis because everyone seems to love the witches, thinking they're just ladies in costumes. The kids narrowly escape and, using the speakers at their school, trick the Sanderson sisters into climbing into a pottery kiln, which is just a human-sized mega oven. Do all high schools have these human-sized ovens? Or was it like a thing of the 90s? And while the kids celebrate too early, the Sanderson sisters actually emerge unscathed from the human-sized oven of this American high school. What a sentence. They kidnap these bullies, but without their book, they're screwed. It would be super useful if whoever has the book just happened to open it right now, activating its Find Me feature.
Nothing weird so far.
Oh, there you go. So the witches hop on some brooms and fly over to kidnap Danny and retrieve the spellbook. Max and Allison once again trick these old witches, this time with the lights on their car. It's very of the time, if you know, you know. If you're a 300-year-old witch, you probably won't get it. They destroy all their magic potion and escape, and again, end up at a cemetery. The witches now have just enough potion for, you guessed it, one child, which also happens to be the minimum number of children they need to absorb the life force of in order to not turn into dust come dawn. Seeing as the potion is only enough for one child, Max drinks it to save his sister and once again tricks the witches with daylight savings. Again, it's very of the time. If you know, you know. If you're a 300-year-old witch, you probably won't get it. And with daylight savings, it means that sunrise will be 1 hour earlier than the Sanderson sisters were expecting. They run out of time and So to recap, best ways to kill a witch in 1993, sprinklers, car lights, daylight savings. If you think about it, Hocus Pocus is very much weapons after a Disney makeover. And if you think about that long enough, it makes sense.
The witches are dead. My soul's finally free.
Then there was the craft.
Every time it seems that someone tries to make a film about witchcraft, because they try to market it, they have to distort it to make it into something either evil or silly or stupid. And it is something that is very, very sacred.
Fairuza was really into it. She's very much Wiccan, and so she really had a certain understanding of it. I think probably that even though I was into all that stuff, I think she had a really deep understanding of it.
It's strange to hear this coming from me because I used to believe that you're born, you live, you die, that's it. but I have witnessed things that have proven different. You know, there's just too many unexplained things. And I know that there are things that are bigger than us.
The craft really was the bee's knees, okay? This was the one that captured what it really means to be a witch. A bewitching take. I always remember the craft because of Fairuza Balk's performance as Nancy. I mean, what a moment in history. But then there were rumors that she was actually Wiccan in real life, that she was a practicing witch, which reminded me of this girl in my hometown who was also a Wiccan. Okay, guys, this is actually serious. It's real life, okay? So rumor has it that her grandmother or her mother cast a spell so that anyone who says anything bad about this girl has bad things happen to them instead. Okay, and for people who believe in that kind of stuff, it's kind of a big deal. So I just want to go on record, okay, and say that I've never met someone so beautiful, so talented, so deserving of success, really. She is an inspiration, and I honestly have always wished for the absolute best for her. She deserves it. She deserves it. She's just an angel. She's an icon. Now imagine my surprise upon researching this for more than 10 minutes, finding out that Fairuza Balk was actually never Wiccan. Turns out she was just really into the role, and she used to go to this occult shop in LA, the oldest one in the country, to ask for questions related to a role, and then found out that the shop was being sold and they were turning it into a Chinese restaurant, and she said, absolutely fucking not. Okay. She bought the shop and decided to keep it alive as an occult shop. And then rumors started flying around that she was actually a practicing witch, and it just kind of stuck. But yeah, nope, she was never a witch. So half of the movie's appeal is now out the window. But the craft was more than this iconic performance. We have to give it up for Robin Tunney wearing a wig the entire film. And as a non-hair expert, I don't know whether I love it or I hate it. I find it impressive considering this was 1996. This must have been a pretty penny. Okay, let's just say that this wig was half the movie's budget. At the time, she was bald for another role, and they just slapped a wig on her. And it genuinely, I don't want to be mean, okay? It looks like she got her hairline done in Turkey over a long weekend. Google any Jersey Shore or Jersey Shore contestant, and it's that. And that also gave us these absolutely iconic transitions back when special effects were like caviar at parties, you know, very exclusive. So if it shows up, you know, the studio has money. They even had one of the girls float, and they green screened their shit out of the table she was laid on. So ahead of their time. Also, this parallels implications are just too exciting not to share them. So Neve Campbell was in this, which came out in May of 1996. And then she was in Scream, which was famously a Christmas debut of 1996. Guess who was also in The Craft and in Scream, both times as a villain? Skeet Ulrich. Yeah, Billy Loomis and Chris Hooker. All in all, it's a good time. You know, it's less of a journey and more of an aesthetic. In terms of plot, there really isn't much happening other than 4 girls dabbling in magic, 3 go crazy, the good one has to stop them. Definition here of good and bad are very dependent on what's socially acceptable at the time. Because if we're being real, sometimes people just hate seeing others succeed. Jealousy is really ugly. And the movie, interestingly, also starts with a person who is new in town. Hocus Pocus, we had Max. The Craft, we have Sarah Bailey, who moves to San Francisco with her dad and stepmom. And she's your average shy girl who has no friends and just wants to be invisible, don't cause any waves. I'm absolutely obsessed with how terrified she looks the entire film. Like, yes, girl, let that panic attack wear you down. At this school are our other main girls, the outcasts, the not like other girls. We have ropes hanging out of our lockers. Nancy, Rochelle, and Bonnie. They all have struggles, they all don't fit in, and they need a 4th to complete their coven of witches. And they become convinced Sarah is their 4th when Bonnie witnesses Sarah doing this in class, which is actually really impressive if you consider the mechanisms of a tip of a pencil and the balance and act of vertically standing still. It's gotta be magic. And then one night, a homeless guy is chasing Sarah, ends up getting hit by a car, and the girls erupt in a joyous celebration. They are so happy that old fart got steamrolled by a moving vehicle because they willed it to happen. They wanted it to happen, so it happened. So they're having a laugh in the woods. It's all fun. It's a giggle. It's an absolute giggle. It's a party. They explain to Sarah that they worship Manon, which is a fictional deity that they made up for this movie just so they didn't have to use real deities, because they also hired a real-life practicing Wiccan consultant for the film so that it stayed authentic without actually mocking the culture. Again, you don't want to mess with them, okay? The spells are real. One time I said something The tiniest thing bad about that girl from my hometown, and I kid you not, the day after, I tripped and I fell down the stairs. Okay. And I'm not the only person that this happened to. I had 2 other friends and we did an experiment. Needless to say, okay, that was the last time that we ever tried to imply anything unsavory about this person, okay? She's the best. She's the best. I'm not scared. You're scared. Shut up. Being bombarded with the concept of belonging to a cult that she hasn't accepted being a part of yet, and magic and deities that they have to worship, Sarah freaks out. She's like, you know what? I'm just going to go on my date with Billy Loomis. Billy Loomis, which in this case is Chris Hooker, immediately started hitting on Sarah as soon as he saw a new girl in school. After not going back home with him, Sarah finds out that Chris has been spreading rumors about the school that they slept together and starts treating her like a cheap tramp. Villain. Meanwhile, our other girls are also dealing with their own issues. We got Nancy Downs, who dog walks anyone she's on screen with her acting. She's the outcast of the outcasts, okay? She's double the weird and triple the angry. She lives in a trailer with her mom and abusive stepfather. Rochelle Zimmerman, a swimmer whose main qualm with life is this blonde racist bimbo in her class who is so comfortable with her racism. Like, it's always jarring to see these 90s movies in the social context they existed.
Because I don't like Negroids.
And Neve Campbell plays Bonnie Harper, a self-conscious girl who wants to be invisible to hide her extensive burn scars from a previous childhood accident. So they go on a road trip and they say their iconic,
We are the weirdos, mister.
and they perform a ritual involving blood where they wish for things they want happening. Stat. And all their wishes come true. Rachel mentions Laura having bleached blonde shit hair, and she catches the hands of magic, who turn Laura from a blonde bimbo to a bald bimbo. Bonnie asks for her outside beauty and inside beauty to match, and her scars miraculously disappear after a very painful treatment she was doing at the hospital. And Sarah's spell ends up making Chris fall madly in love with her to the point where he becomes creepy and abusive. Whereas Nancy just asks for more power. Nancy's the real one. She's like, I'm a witch. Why am I gonna ask for normal shit people want? I want more power. Yes. And later they perform a different ritual, this time where Nancy invokes the spirit and ends up with the ability to walk on water at the cost of marine life. Like I said, Nancy just wants power. She's now very powerful, and Sarah starts noticing how they've all become very complacent and arrogant. Nancy's becoming reckless and power hungry. Bonnie is now shallow, and Rochelle, honestly, Rochelle did nothing wrong. You know, she never even wished for Laura's hair to fall off. She just said that she had bleached shit hair, and hey, fair mistake. All she's doing is living her life unbothered by that racist bitch who's no longer bothering her because she's losing all of her hair. I think it's justice. If anything, Rochelle just got dragged into this mess without deserving it. But alas. There's also the rule of witchcraft, where anything that you put out into the world and desire to others will come back to you ×3. Which is not really good if you're out and about casting spells to take revenge on people. And it all culminates at a Halloween party when Nancy uses a spell to impersonate Sarah and hook up with Chris after he attacks Sarah. And yes, once again, logic should not apply to this film because truthfully, there is no real grand plan with impersonating Sarah and then just hooking up with Chris. All you're doing is sleeping with a guy you've spent the entire movie saying is a jerk and doesn't respect women. And when Sarah shows up to stop Nancy, she has an outburst that throws Chris out the window to his death. And let's just say, yes, Chris was under a spell and he was obsessed with Sarah, but also he was pretty shitty before. So hey, no tears will be spilled here for Chris. But Sarah's like, whoa, that's too far. But everyone's like, nah, he deserved it. So Sarah decides to stop hanging out with the girls because it's just getting too much. But afraid they'll take their powers further, Sarah tries binding Nancy's powers. And if you didn't know, binding is this thing witches do supposedly to stop others from having powers. They bind their powers. Unfortunately, Sarah didn't take into account that right now Nancy is a powerful BICTH. Okay? She walks on water and she kills fishes. After the failed binding ritual, the coven all turn against Sarah, and they start tormenting her in her dreams and in real life. And desperate, with nowhere to go, Sarah runs to this occult shop and asks this lady for help. And she's like, you have more light than I've seen any witch have in the past. You need to invoke a spirit as well. She's like, but the spirit made Nancy go bananas, go crazy. And she's like, but you will use the spirit for good. See, I do have an issue with that because that is the literal definition of hypocrisy, right? So you're like, you can't use this power. So I'm going to use the power you're not allowed to use to stop you from using the power that I'm using to stop you from using because you're not allowed, but I'm allowed. This moral superiority thing, you know what? She killed a rapist, okay? Who's going to cry over it? But she can't do it. And the girls then do go a little bit crazy. And this is like, okay, well, you know what? Invoke the spirit, be a hypocrite, whatever. Because they cast illusions to make Sarah think that her parents died in a plane crash, and then she starts seeing snakes and rats and insects all over her house. All of this so they can convince Sarah to take her own life. See, this is mean, okay? And left with no choice, Sarah finalizes the invocation and makes Bonnie and Rochelle see reflected to them the consequences of their spells. So they run home scared. She then has a face-to-face with Nancy, who gives us these absolutely iconic moments. But eventually Sarah wins because Manon is pissed at the girls for abusing their magic. And Sarah binds all the girls, effectively rendering them powerless. Oh, and Nancy ends up institutionalized. Yeah, this one got a little dark at the end, okay, not gonna lie. And if you look close enough, it don't really make much sense. There's not really a plot to work with, and the ending feels very abrupt. But nonetheless, okay, the worst thing about this movie is that it has a sequel, and the sequel is, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. I refuse to talk about it. Don't piss me off. And finally, the best of the bunch, my personal all-time favorite witch movie, Practical Magic. Practical Magic invented magic and love and romance. That's it. That's the tweet. We used to have so much back in the day. Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman playing sisters who are witches, cursed to never love anyone, forced to live in a ginormous, beautiful mansion in a seaside town with their spells and potions. It must be tough. I used to watch this movie all the time because my mother owned it in VHS and just loved putting it on. And if I had to guess, I'd say this movie made me gay. But I also had crushes on both Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman, so like very confusing time in my life. And it always warms my heart to rewatch this movie and realize it's just as good, if not better, than I remember. So they better not ruin it with the sequel. Don't piss me off. Practical Magic is simply that girl. In a small Massachusetts town, the Owens family have been regarded with suspicion for over 300 years because their ancestor, Maria Owens, survived an attempted execution for witchcraft. Heartbroken when the father of her unborn child left her, Maria cast a spell to prevent herself from ever falling in love again. The spell developed into a curse upon Maria's descendants, dooming any man an Owens woman loves. And this just goes to show that generational trauma, it metamorphosizes over generations and it becomes such a different monster than what it began as. So if you have generational trauma, or if you're just generally sad about something in your life, go to fucking therapy. Stop dumping your trauma on your kids. I think the edible is starting to hit. That's right, folks. Witches be witchin', but witches not be lovin'. And as kids, they're taken in by their Aunt Frances and Jet, following the death of their father, which then caused their mother to die of a heartbreak. Love in this movie, oh, it's so serious, you guys. The love is like more important even than the magic. It should really be called practical love, or magic love, or love magic, or lovely magic, magically love. In love, practically love magic. The Owens girls are outcasts. They're ostracized by their communities, called witches. The favorite saying of the town is, "Witch, witch, you're a bitch." And for generations, that slogan never changes because they realize that when you have such a perfect rhyme as witch and bitch, you simply don't change it. You don't fix what's not broken. You don't break what's fixed. And you don't break what's not needed fixed. And seeing what magic did to her mom, Sally, as a child, casts a spell called Amas Veritas, so that she'll only fall in love with a man who has impossible attributes. He can flip pancakes in the air, ride a pony backwards. His favorite shape will be a star. He'll have one green eye and one blue. That way, she'll never fall in love because her dream man will never exist. And if he doesn't exist, she'll never die of a broken heart. Tears. We haven't even reached her final form as Sandra Bullock, and I'm already crying. What the hell, man? supposed to be a romantic comedy. Years later, the Owen sisters are all grown up and they follow different paths. Jillian runs away to live as a free spirit, enjoying the bountiful gifts the world has to offer. And Sally stays back, living a more grounded, simple life. She ends up falling in love with a man against her best wishes, and she's running to her dream man as Shania Twain's This Kiss plays in the background. Oh my God. I don't know how to explain to someone as a white Portuguese kid living in Zermatt, Switzerland, how much I was obsessed with this film. And I'm like, what is happening inside of me? I know nothing of what's going on, but I'm seeing Sandra Bullock run to her man. I'm seeing the man run to her, and I'm confused. I'm changing. And that's how I know that you're pretty much gay genetically. Like, it's in your genes. Life's fun. Life's fun. Who's not having fun?
I'm so bored I could die.
And Sally lives a beautiful marriage with this man, passionate. They can't keep their hands off each other. They have two beautiful girls. And one of my favorite things about this movie is that all of the generations are always two women, one brunette, one redhead. Sally's daughters look like photocopies of Sally and Jillian. The redhead daughter, can't remember her name, is played by Evan Rachel Wood. I don't know if this is a wig. I don't know if this is a hair. I don't know what it is, but it's a serve. It was a cultural reset. So Sally's living her beautiful married life. Meanwhile, Jillian is living her party wild girl life. And she is with Jimmy Angelov. Jimmy, this disgustingly creepy man who is also, for some reason, so hot. Like, the men in this movie, I think, were very formative. Oh, damn. This explains a lot. Years into her happy marriage, and Sally hears an incessant, impossible to ignore cricket, which is the curse's way of saying, oops, time's up, girl. Your husband's about to die. And though she tries, she can't stop the curse. It's impossible, and her husband dies, leaving a despondent and very understandably angry Sally to move back in with her aunts and her two daughters, forbidding the daughters from ever practicing magic. And something about Sandra and Nicole's chemistry in this film that just makes it work so well. Like, Jillian goes back home to console Sally for one night, and they just spend all night talking, and it's just cozy. Y'all, I don't know what they're talking about. I can't remember the dialogue. It's something about life and magic and whatever. It's so comfortable. It feels like I'm just hanging out with the girls. And this is when the story finally gets going, when Jillian calls Sally asking for help because Jimmy, as it turns out, is abusive. Who would have guessed? However, it doesn't go according to plan, and Jimmy kind of takes them hostage. Sally and Jillian then communicate telepathically, and they drug Jimmy's tequila, which he simply cannot resist. And he kind of goes bananas all of a sudden, starts strangling Jillian, and they end up knocking him out dead. Jimmy's dead.
How much did you give him, Sally? I don't know, Jillian. I wasn't using a measuring cup. He was trying to kill you.
So they're like, oh shit, this man is dead. But then they remember, wait a minute. We're like witches, and there's like a spell that can bring someone to life. Now, it's almost like cardinal rule in these films that you should never bring anyone back from the dead because you don't know what they're going to come back as. And Sally tells her, our aunts have forbidden us from using this spell because what comes back is dark and unnatural. And Jillian just goes, he's already dark and unnatural. I don't care what he comes back as long as he comes back with a pulse. Yes, girl. So they perform their little ritual, and it works. Jimmy comes back to life and immediately starts strangling Jillian like it's a reflex. So Sally kills him again in self-defense. And this is when they decide just to bury him out in the garden and pretend like nothing ever happened. Perfect. Unfortunately, Jimmy ain't dead, and a big bush and some flowers start growing from the place where he's buried, meaning that his spirit is not completely at rest. Sally and Jillian then have midnight margaritas with their aunts, which is just a fun evening of drinking and laughing and partying with your old kooky aunts who are literal witches, and then so are you. So it's like everyone's a witch and everyone does magic, and they're just having booze and fun. That used to play on loop in my bedroom when I was a kid. They end the night by doing these honest shots where they just drink a shot of something and then they can't help it but tell someone to their face what they really think about them. And it's fun, you know, something that you should never do with family that you only sporadically see. And it kind of leads to them talking about Jamie, you know, something dark happened, something dark is coming, but the girls refuse to talk to their aunts about it. So they're like, you know what? Clean up your own mess. So in the middle of the night, Francis and Jet out of there, leaving something to Sally's daughters to protect them, of course. But as for Sally and Jillian, deal with it. And when Evan Rachel Wood sees Jimmy outside and says, I'm not going outside while he's there, this blurry ass scene of him outside, I had the shivers. Y'all, I had nightmares with this, okay? I was scared. Soon enough, Sally receives a visit from Gary Hallett, a detective investigating Jimmy's disappearance. And guess what? When I was a kid watching this, I didn't know, because it was before I realized, but there was just something about this man, okay, that I was just like, This man is the man with the impossible attributes that Sally created via spell when she was younger. And Sally feels super strange and shy, and she just can't lie to him. So she has to creatively talk around his questions.
Did you or your sister kill James, Angela?
Oh, yeah. Couple of times.
And Gary's also smitten by her. He's also not understanding this immense pull that he feels towards her. After give or take about 2 days, they are, of course, madly, irrevocably in love with each other, but they can't be together because Sally kind of killed Jimmy, and Gary's investigating Jimmy's disappearance and must take Sally in to jail. She killed someone. But don't worry, because that's about to change, because Jillian becomes possessed with Jimmy's spirit. And watching this scene as a kid, this gave me nightmares. This ugly ass CGI spirit, I don't know who gave them the right to create this demonic entity, but that had me scared. This was my 13th reason. Somehow Gary makes Jimmy's spirit vanish thanks to his badge, because he's a man of honor and authority. But Jillian is now possessed, and the aunts arrive just in time to help with this PR crisis. Jillian is going through withdrawal symptoms without the drug addiction. They simply must banish this spirit. And to do that, they need a coven. They need 12 women. And isn't that the perfect opportunity for Sarah to finally invite a bunch of women from town to come over and help them, giving them the opportunity to finally see behind the curtains. And they form a circle of broomsticks around Jillian, and Sally tries keeping her awake. Tears again. It's just so beautiful, because this is where you see the true love that this movie's talking about. It's not about men falling in love with the Owens and dying because of a stupid curse. It's about the power of true love, the sisterly love they have for each other. And then they finally banish the spirit by mixing blood and cuts, and it's just very unhygienic. Never, ever try this at home. But they eventually banish the spirit, and they symbolically break this curse. They break the curse of a broken heart with the power of sisterly love. If you think about it, the curse only started because she was heartbroken her husband left her, so she almost cursed herself to never love a man again. And if she did, that man had to die, because love is dangerous because of a heartbreak. And now the sisters join together. Cinema. It's cinema. This is cinema. And we see all the ladies come together, sweeping the dust out the house, and it's so careless and reckless. They don't care if they get it all. It's symbolic, because his ashes are CGI. And they pour this ugly ass concoction on the ashes, and Jimmy is gone forever. Sometime later, Gary returns and he starts a relationship with Sally, and in the end, finally embraced by their community, the Owens girls jump off from their big mansion's rooftop, landing safely at the bottom. And as a kid, I was that dumbass kid wanting to climb onto a big rooftop so I could try this stunt, fully convinced an umbrella would stop me from dying. It would not have. And there you have it, folks. The 90s Witches Trifecta, perfect for a Halloween rewatch. But whatever you do, do not watch The Craft Legacy. Oh my God. Not talking about it. Don't piss me off. In conclusion, why do we keep coming back to these witches? Honestly, because they were just doing shit. They were just doing whatever. They're like, you know what? I'm just going to do whatever. And they did. And the result was magic. Because nowadays people are always like, what do the audiences want? Or what is going to sell more? What is more PG whatever? It's how we got that fucking Craft Legacy. Don't forget to leave it a like down below if you haven't already, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. That'd be crazy not to, right? Right? We have fun. Thank you for the support, and until next time, stay safe, stay sane, stay stupid, and stay stuttering. I need to film an outro. I want an outro so I can put it here. So like, instead of me talking to you right now while you have like subscribe and like, here's another video to watch and here's some, do this, click here or here, wherever, you know, click on one of them, go watch more videos, but I need to film an outro. Can you tell the edible has hit? Bye guys.